Just a town that was ravaged by wildfire yesterday is now facing some severe flash flooding as we speak. Now, officials confirmed that at least 2 people have died after fire ripped through the Ruidoso area, and some 1,400 buildings and homes have been burned. And not even 24 hours later,
This video was taken by a Ruidoso resident, shows just how dangerous the floods have been so far. Water from the rains are rushing down the mountain, flowing like a river near those homes, as you can see. The village of Ruidoso says this afternoon's flooding also caused multiple gas leaks throughout town.
Today, we're here in Ruidoso. Ruidoso has been experiencing extreme catastrophe and weather conditions in the last few weeks, from fires, floods, and extreme winds. This small community in southern New Mexico has experienced devastating natural disaster. Today, I'm here to understand how this community is able to endure such catastrophe. Behind me is what used to be the ski lodge, the Swiss Chalet. This entire valley was the subject of extreme, scorching fire. Nearby, the police found the body of a 60-year-old Patrick Pearson. This small community has a lot to endure recently, and I'm trying to understand what this community's gone through. We're going to be meeting a lot of people who have lost everything they have. This is a really hard environment to be in, and this isn't a very large community to endure it. What I'd like to understand a little better is how Albuquerque and the rest of New Mexico can be better assistance to these small communities. Look here at this car that's just been completely decimated. It's not only destroyed and mangled, but you can see this burnt tree behind it, which is left of a building. It's pretty eerie.
Okay, I think we're out of it for now, but...
Well, I'm currently having to wear a mask now to go outside since there is currently now a wildfire.
God, it's huge. I can't see.
I'm standing here now with Matt, and I've known you for a little bit, and I wanted to know if you were doing okay because I knew you were down here in Ruidoso already. And some mutual friends of ours let me know that your house was completely destroyed from the fires out here. Now, you sent me a little bit of video of your time not knowing what was happening. Now, if I'm correct, a fire marshal came to your house directly and said, hey, you guys got to get out of here. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, there was a few warning signs that we had to leave. I mean, like the hour, like in the last five minutes before we left, I mean, the entire sky was just like a sulfur yellow. So that was a bad sign that we had to go. And we actually, someone that was evacuating stopped and saw us outside when I was recording and asked what we were doing. And my stepfather said that we were thinking about evacuating, which he responded by just staring at him as though he was stupid and saying, leave, and then he left. So, and then 5 minutes later, that's when the sheriff arrived and ordered us to leave.
So there's a little bit of moment of hesitation, and by the time the sheriff got there, he's like, everyone's got to get out of here. Yeah,
I mean, he actually came twice because we spent about 2 minutes. Yeah, he told us not to pack anything, but you know, it's just a sort of human instinct.
How do you not pack for that kind of thing? You know, what's that like? You're in your home, and then in the next moment, everything's starting to just kind of turn into chaos. What's that like?
Well, the first thing that happened was we panicked trying to find luggage cases, and we couldn't find them, so we just grabbed like a few plastic bags, and we just packed everything that was in front of us. I ran downstairs to my apartment, which used to be, you know, down there, and I just grabbed the first things I could think of, which it can never be enough. I mean,
so I'm curious, what are those things that you grabbed in that?
Well, I mean, I grabbed clothes, enough for about 5 days. My work uniforms. I guess I somehow knew that my job would still be here.
Yeah, so we're standing now in this valley that's been completely torched, and we're actually going to play some footage so people can see what has become of this neighborhood. Now, right behind where we're interviewing here, this is where you lived. You walked to work, which we're filming in front of, and that seems to be the only thing untouched in this whole valley is your work here at the Alto Cafe.
Yeah.
So, you spend every day walking to work. This is your neighborhood, and now we're standing in front of smoldering ruins that you walked past as a complete house every day. What's that feel like? Does that feel like just everything's been upended and changed?
I mean, there is no really going back. There's always going to be before the fire and after the fire. I mean, it's uncanny. I mean, working at my job right there and knowing that there's a pile of rubble that used to be where my house is and is now gone.
How does that make you feel?
Honestly, it's like I said, it's uncanny. Like there is no real way to feel about it.
It's I think I've been surprised from the people who have had their property hurt and devastated that there's not more of this just pain and suffering. But I have to say, I see a lot of pain in people's eyes that you lose everything, but there seems something almost final about it. There's nothing you can do. Am I right in that? It's kind of what can you feel besides anything else?
I mean, people react in different ways. I remember that when we first evacuated, before they evacuated the entire village, we tried booking a hotel right down at the Elegante. If you've captured footage of that, but there was people sobbing. I've saw people devastated in the way that I'm guessing you were hoping to get, but
I wasn't hoping to find any devastation today. It was terrible to see what this community's gone through.
Yeah, just in general, I mean, people react in different ways to this, and 2 weeks on, you just have to keep going.
And you find that as a place of perseverance and strength for yourself.
More cold comfort than anything else. That there's some way out of it. That's
Well, the title of our piece today is "How Do You Survive a Natural Disaster?" And you were here in your home up until the last minute. You kind of saw everything around you go up in that moment. What was it like as a survival situation? I mean, you got out of a situation that your belongings didn't. I mean, what's that feel like?
Well, I mean, it's just for the first about 30 minutes there was a bit of a denial after we left. I mean, it was extremely difficult to adjust, especially after we left. Like, we ended up having to go in front of a gas station near Hondo, which was practically a refugee camp, if you don't mind my phrasing.
Sure, I can imagine.
I mean, there was like at least 100 more cars than there usually should be for a gas station. They ran out of gas in the first 30 minutes, and it was impossible to sleep in a car while watching. We downloaded an app where we can see the where the direction the fire was, and we saw they updated the exact moment that it hit where our house was. So you essentially got live notifications as the fire crept further and further and closer to your house, until eventually you could basically get a notification that said it's gone through that area. Pretty much. I mean, we were hoping that they would be able to stop it, since there's Alto Lake right behind us. But there was just too much smoke for anyone to get through. There was too much smoke for any sort of helicopters to get any water from anywhere to fight at all. It's just, yeah.
It sounds like it was a pretty intense situation for everyone involved. I have to say that I appreciate what you've been able to say about your experience. What's your experience like now? Where are you staying right now?
Right now, we were able to get an RV. It's a decent one. Definitely not like how our house used to be, but it's livable. And our day to day is just counting everything that we've lost for our insurance. I mean, we have to grab out sheets and list out every single thing we lost, receipts, cost, date that it was bought. You know, it's one thing to lose everything, but then another to realize that you can't get the money back because you didn't have the receipt for it. Or
I mean, so that has to feel criminal almost. I mean, you've gone through devastation, natural disaster, and now what you're dealing with are corporations that are trying to keep that money from you because you just lost everything.
I mean, I'll say it's been a hassle every day to work with the insurance. I mean, I appreciate what the governor has done in saying that they can't charge us a deductible, but the insurance seems to be trying to exploit the lack of knowledge of that by still trying to charge us for like $1,000 deductible for my car, for example. And you know, and to that point, they're trying to figure out if my car is totaled, but they're already saying they're going to declare it totaled no matter the condition of it, because if they declare it totaled, then they get a higher commission.
So you kind of feel like they've been doing all this for their benefit, and you feel very disenfranchised by these insurance companies that you're kind of looking to in a moment of disaster to give you some recovery, to give you some benefit. I mean, you feel cornered by them.
Yeah, I mean, they're for-profit insurance companies. Like we're talking about how much we're trying to get, because they have a cap to how much property you can count on for to get insurance back. They only go to $49,000. But even then, we're trying to get like up to like $90,000 to $100,000 just so that they don't cut it down to below that.
That has to, I mean, you know, maybe that has to be part of it, right? You can't be angry at fire. It's fire and wind. I mean, it's terrifying, it's deadly, but at the end of the day, you can't do much about it. But and this time afterwards, while you've had firefighters and rescuers and a lot of people who've come in the community to help each other, it seems that might be a place where people aren't coming together to help you. It actually feels like outsiders of this community who are very powerful have some pretty intense reasons to make your life difficult.
I mean, yeah, I've been talking to my family about it. You know, I hope that in this next year we see our, you know, local city council and politicians, you know, note this down, because, I mean, if they don't do something to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again, not just the fire, but also just the inability to get enough resources for it. I mean, like, I'm surprised that we don't even have a fund saved up. We don't have anything for this, even though this is almost semi-annual now.
That has to be an interesting feeling as a resident of this community. So my only final question, I guess, to you as a resident is trying to understand how you feel you go forward. Do you feel like there were things in our society and the community that weren't prepared as a resident? And then do you think there are things in the future that you think if we pay attention to this, it could really help your situation again?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I feel that first off, we need more infrastructure around these areas that you know, are most prone to fire. I mean, there was pretty much nothing to stop it from getting to these areas. Like, and you know, we only have two fire departments here, and for something like this, it's way too small. We need something more, you know, permanent from, I don't know, the state or the federal government. You know, something that can detect and fight these fires before they get to this point. Because, I mean, if you look at the report of what caused the fire, it says it was a lightning strike, but you know, there wasn't a lightning in the day, so I'm assuming that it must have gone unnoticed for a day or two before. So there was nothing to detect it, nothing to slow it down or stop it before it got to this point. I mean, I appreciate this response from the state and federal government, but you know, it's just not enough at a time like this.
And I am sure that you're just essentially feeling that you want more resources available in the future, that anytime there's ever been a city councilman or anything like that who stepped up and said, you know, we don't need to expand a program, I'm sure that you're now viciously fighting against anything like that.
You know, I've felt from the first day that our city council and just our mayor has been too focused on just the tourist industry. You know, people coming in and spending their money and then leaving, rather than investing inside the community. I mean,
And I'm curious, as a resident, you might feel frustrated that there aren't enough resources in your community. Do you feel that your mayor and fire department acted pretty appropriately, though, when the time came in helping people and making sure the area was
I mean,
safe?
yeah, I do feel that when the time came, they made the right decision to evacuate as soon as possible. I mean, but at that point, it's cold comfort knowing that there could have been something done before that point. But
It's often the leaders who are able to make those decisions who can help everyone, and the other kinds of leaders who sit around and make long-term decisions, who aren't responsible for the immediate reaction of a disaster, right? A mayor might not get the choice to help be involved in all the budgetary decisions leading year by year, but in the time they'll have the ability to respond. But I imagine as a resident, you're pretty focused now on what does it mean to be here for a long time, to focus and to reorganize your resources. I understand you're pretty politically active. Are there any kind of ideas that you think would be really important just for yourself to share?
well, I mean, as I said, I think that we need more infrastructure along the areas where we're most exposed. I mean, something to slow down the fire so that we can have a response for it. And like I said, we need a more permanent professional force here. I mean, the local forces here, they just aren't enough for these sort of fires when they come. And like I said, they become more and more every year. And I just think that we need some sort of savings for disaster relief locally. I mean, because at this point, it's already, once the fire comes, it's already too late to scrounge up money when everyone's already so devastated. But once we return to some sort of normalcy, I think that's when we should save money for this sort of thing. Some sort of mutual aid program, some sort of stocking of money that can be used by the community when they need it.
Well, certainly, if you guys, like you said, have a lot of tourism in this town. There's a lot of things that bring people from out of state. If people, when they come here, when they visit, if you knew that those dollars were going towards the future needs of the community, I'm sure that would make you feel a lot better and safer.
I mean, yeah, I think that we need to use the resources that we have for the community. I mean, I think that the way that we've been using our tourist money has been a bit ineffective and just a bit useless for these sort of situations, because we've mostly been using the money we've gotten from tourism for more tourism, which has not helped for the community.
Which, in moments of disaster, you would rather have the other things prepared. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, Matt. I know you're going through a lot of devastation right now. I understand that you're facing a lot of hardship in your own life. We're going to provide, of course, the link for your GoFundMe here, as well as a lot of other links. And we'd appreciate if people helped you out, because I know what you're facing is not easy alone. So thank you for taking the time to talk with us, Matt.
In a time of increasing uncertainty, people don't know what's going to happen to them. Leaders are making very bold statements about what kind of resources they deserve. They're not sure what options are available for them in recovery or preparation for the next time. We wanted to talk to the people who were directly impacted by this. Our show has always given you unedited interviews in order to see things for yourself. These are a collection of interviews from those who were devastated by the wildfires and the floods themselves.
So, Tana, thank you for joining me today. We're here right outside front of your house. Your house has been spared from everything else around here. The fire seemed to have consumed everything around your house. That's quite terrifying. I mean, tell me about that.
It's very terrifying. The day that the fire happened on June the 17th, I was at my office watching the fire. It's at 5 acres. Then it turned to 20 acres. And you have that watch duty app that you just try to, when you live up here, you keep an eye on that app. And so I just saw that the wind could shift a different direction. My son was home by himself. And I told my boss, I said, I've got to go get Sebastian. They hadn't at that time evacuated, but by the time I got up here and left Myro Capital, I got to my front porch and it was already covered in ash.
Wow.
So I was calling my son before I got here and said, put the leashes on the dogs, put the cat in the carrier, grab a change of clothes, and I will be right there. Well, I get home and of course he's in his underwear and has his flip-flops on, but all of his electronics in a suitcase. And I said, well, where's the cat? I don't know, Mom. So at that point, it was time to evacuate, and it's mad dash of trying to find all the animals.
So all the problems you have as a mother, you're now also facing in the midst of a natural disaster.
Yes.
That's a lot on your plate at once, I'm sure. So I'm trying to imagine what that chaos is like. So you come home, the woods are kind of on the process of burning down. I'm sure smoke's just covering this place already.
Heavy smoke.
Ash is raining from the sky. And now
the sky is orange.
And now you're trying to get your kids together. Now you're trying to make sure that they're all ready to go.
Absolutely.
We got another car coming through here.
No, there wasn't.
Well, it is. I mean, I can tell people are coming through here, kind of getting their stuff. What's that been like to see your neighbors' places just eradicated around you? I mean, there are about 12 homes just around this area, all decimated. What's that like? I mean, how many people are left from this community?
20.
For how many?
I would say a few hundred.
A few hundred people lived out here, and now you're down to just a few dozen. Less.
Exactly. And it's just devastating. I'm very grateful and I'm very blessed, but at the same time I'm heartbroken, and you kind of have that remorse for your neighbors of guilt. My house is okay, but 20 feet from my house, my neighbor isn't. So it's really devastating.
I mean, from across your street, this is the well right here. And you've been telling us they've been working on this thing all day, just trying to get water back to you. So that I know they have a water pump coming for you here, but that also, the electricity, I understand the electricity was knocked out over here.
The electricity, gas, water, all utilities.
So are you running off of a generator right now?
No, we're staying in a hotel. We're not,
You're not
the
even
house
over
isn't
here.
livable right now.
You've just come over here in order to grab things.
Exactly.
Get stuff.
Yeah, I have smoke damage on the inside of my home.
So you can't even be in your home right
No.
now. So it doesn't even quite feel like your home was saved. I mean, it's like you've come back to just, instead of starting over, now you're just repairing what's been heavily damaged.
Exactly.
Exactly. I mean, that doesn't make things any easier.
It's stressful. And my son is autistic, so routine is a must for him. So this is it's very hard.
Yeah.
It's just very hard.
Well, the title of our piece today is How Do You Survive Natural Disaster? And I actually would like to know that. I mean, being a mother, having a son who is on the spectrum, having to cope with all of these things at once in a space of panic, of danger, where you have to be at the best of your wits in order to make sure everyone's safe and okay. What's that like?
You have to find a calm. And I don't know how to say that, but in all the chaos, you have to remain calm. And you think that you are, but I probably wasn't. I probably was, where's the cat? Where's the dogs? Get your clothes on. That's probably more of the reality. We have to go right now.
That's terrifying. Yeah. I mean, I know I put my mom through that exact same scenario, but I can't imagine, being a mother in such a place. I'm curious, being a mom in this kind of environment in a forest, this street we're on right here, you said you tried to put some dirt just below us here?
Yes, we did.
And it all gets washed away because...
I have no more culverts. Everything, the flooding is terrifying. So I came up here yesterday to get a few things, and I thought I was going to beat the rain. I ran in the house, got a few things, and I couldn't get back down. So I was trapped for about 5 hours for the water to recede.
And that's something that we're actually worried about here. Right now, we're doing this interview.
Yes.
There's thunder that we might be able to hear in the distance. It's coming in on us. And you're hoping to get your stuff before you get trapped up here again.
Yes, yes.
And that's, so it's not just the fire you're dealing with. It's floods
flooding.
coming through here. also degrading your property, I'm sure. Like you said, I mean, your driveway's destroyed. I'm sure it doesn't help the house any at all.
No.
I mean, I can't imagine having to deal with the smoke damage, the flames that come through, destroying your water, and then afterwards the extra bit of destruction with the water that just
It's
comes
stressful.
through. Well,
I can't describe the level of stress.
is there any hope on the horizon for you, though, that you keep in mind?
There is. I'm hoping in a couple of years we start to see green grass. We start to see things starting to grow again. I do have a home to come back to. I have a big white sign on my door that says "Do not drink water." It's not for human consumption, and so that's really terrifying when the water gets turned back on. That's what you have to deal with after that.
Yeah.
So I got electricity this past few days.
That's good.
And they're working on the water. Gas, I called the gas company because, you know, my home is heated by gas, the hot water, everything.
I've been able to smell gas while I'm out here too.
But they say that everything is burned, and for my area, they can't give me an ETA.
And you know, we're in, like, your home is thankfully just in okay condition.
Mm-hmm.
Every single home around us, I mean, we'll put photos up, completely
Yeah, they're
eradicated.
completely gone. So coming home and seeing, when you drive up Cedar Creek and you see all the homes gone, and then you come up Musket Ball and you turn onto our road, I didn't know what to expect, and then I saw my house sitting there, and I thought, you've got to be kidding me.
What was that like, to see your home
I
pristine
started
condition?
bawling.
I mean, that must have been.
I started bawling.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can't imagine the thankfulness. So I'm curious, do you feel like your community was able to help organize properly to keep everyone safe, to keep the area?
They're
in
working
control?
around the clock, as you can see, and they're out here in the early
I mean,
mornings
they're working
of 6
behind
in
us
the
right now.
They're here at 6 in the morning. They're here in the evenings. They're running the generators. They're pulling in contractors, and I can't say enough good about them.
Well, I'm really touched to see the way your communities come together to help each other. I can't imagine what your neighbors are going through right now, and to know that, I mean, I'm here in front of your house. You can't live in it. You're going to a hotel.
Yeah.
You're not in a very different boat than anyone else. I
No.
mean, it's not entirely different than starting something else. I mean, you're just repairing so much.
I have to have the whole inside painted, all the floors treated, all the furniture cleaned or replaced. It smells like a fireplace,
Yeah. Well,
if not worse.
yeah, and I can't imagine what it's like to kind of wake up and keep going through that. But, you know, I have to admire your resilience.
Thank you.
I mean, when we got here, you and your son looked like you guys were in good spirits, and
We are.
that's been really nice to see in the community.
It is. It's a great community. People are helping each other. We're looking for lost pets. During when it first started, of course, you know, they tell everyone to stay out of the area. My husband works at the hospital, so he was left behind from the evacuation. And so we evacuated without him. And he was sleeping at the hospital, but he was sneaking up here, checking on things when he finally got video confirmation that the house was here,
Yeah.
and helping find people's pets.
Wow.
And you wouldn't think that's, I mean, people had to leave their pets behind.
Yeah, I
They
can't
had to-
imagine what that's like.
Yeah, they had to leave their pets behind. It was just very, very sad.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to get back and find your pets and
Yes.
make sure that everyone was okay and keep your people safe. We're racing against the clouds here, so
We
I
are.
really appreciate your time today and being willing to talk with us. But I hope you a lot of well on the journey to recovery.
I appreciate that. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you, Tana. Much well to you, and thank you for talking.
Thank you.
So I'm here with you, Jacob. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. We're standing here at the very edge of the fire. This is where it stopped in its tracks. Behind the camera is your house. So this
right.
is how close you were to losing everything. What does that feel like, to know that the flames literally stopped on the other side of the road from your house?
It's pretty crazy. It's the closest it's ever come to my house. I've been evacuated many times living here, but this is the closest anything has ever gotten to us, and it even jumped down the road to the other side of our house too. So
It went around you.
Mhm.
I mean, we were just down the street walking around some of the houses there that were completely destroyed.
Yeah.
In fact, this house here right behind us was demolished entirely. It did not survive. So you were cleaning ash out of your roof for 3 days, you said. What's it like to come back to your house after a fire has just swept through your area?
Well, honestly, for us, it felt like we were coming back to a ghost house because we had already kind of accepted that it was gone for those first few days, and then finally getting proof that it was there and coming back to see it was kind of like, well, we can clean, we can move forward. It's just going to take a second to feel like it's home again because we thought it was gone.
And these are made of wood too. These definitely would not have survived out here. I'm curious, is that part of the risk you just understand about living out here? Is that something you've accepted being a resident of Ruidoso, or do you feel like maybe there are more preventative measures that should be taken? Do you feel like maybe this shouldn't have happened? I'm kind of curious on the scale where you're falling.
Yeah, for sure. I think a large part of living anywhere is deciding what natural disasters you're willing to deal with. And so for us here, it's kind of like we have fires, and so we have to think about that. And a lot of them caused by lightning, caused by cigarettes being thrown out of cars, caused by anything. We just kind of have to roll with the punches on that front. Sometimes the wind picks up a little too high and it knocks power lines over. We had a fire caused by that a few years ago, so it's like things like our infrastructure for our power lines if they could be put underground, that would be lovely.
Sure. So I'm curious, as a resident, do you feel like when something like this is happening that the authorities are pretty responsive to your needs, to your questions, that when you need to know if you're in a safe area or a dangerous area, do you think that information is getting delivered to you pretty adequately?
Absolutely, actually. I think at this point it's very efficient how they get information out to us. And we weren't evacuated in a super fast manner of like needing authorities to come knock on our door and tell us to get out. We have phone notifications and things like that update us as things are getting closer, and so that was really helpful because we didn't have to just wait around to be told to leave. We could just see that it was on its way and we could go beforehand.
Well, I'm a little curious then on that emotional aspect of leaving your home. You're
Sure.
expecting to come back to it completely destroyed, completely gone. It's not. Are there emotions that you feel knowing that your neighbors just across the street suffered the worst fate you could possibly suffer, and that it was a matter of wind fate that kind of kept you safe from that? What's that feeling like?
Oh, absolutely. Survivor's guilt is a very real thing. It's very much so. We expected our house to be gone. We said bye to it when we left, and then we get back and it's still here, but there's others around us that aren't. It's just kind of like, why did we get picked to survive this, like our house, and why did theirs not? And so it took a long time for us to start feeling a little okay with still having everything that we have.
That has to be a strange feeling, to feel guilty that your home is still there.
Yeah.
I'm curious, when you're packing up and leaving on that last minute notice, what are the kind of things that you're packing up? What are the things that you choose to leave behind that you didn't think you would? What are the things that you want to make sure immediately in that moment you take with you?
Well, at this point, since we've done it a few times, we kind of have a system down, my wife and I, and so we grab important things like our safe that has our papers in it. When my wife was little, she lost her house in a forest fire in California, and her mom's wedding dress was burned in that house fire. So we grabbed my wife's wedding dress as just like a keepsake to make sure, because her mom lost hers. We grabbed, honestly, just some clothes, some entertainment, some things that were too sentimental to replace, and then everything after that is kind of like, we can deal without it.
Yeah. I can't imagine having to make those choices and be picked up on the road like that. And at least, I'm glad you got to come back and find that all your belongings, in fact, were okay. I'm curious, do you buy differently knowing that maybe you live in an area that you're, in Albuquerque, I don't really worry about my house burning down anytime, and smack dab in the middle of a city in the desert. I'm curious if your just emotional attachment to your belongings around you, is that all different because you're kind of, like you said, you've done this how many times now? How many times have you evacuated?
I've personally evacuated 2 times before this one. This will be my 3rd time.
And you've grown up here in Ruidoso. So how, do you kind of just live a little differently? Or are you and me different in that regard, that in the back of your head, you're always prepared to lose everything? That's kind of intense.
Yeah. We're always a little packed, just in case.
Wow.
Always a little packed. Some things are always in cases and just ready to go should we have to, especially in the spring and the summer during fire season. That's whenever it's like, we know to be ready.
One thing that I thought was really interesting when we came up to your place is you have all of these sandbags in front of your house.
Yeah.
And you said someone else had actually set those up for when you got back. But this area has also been experiencing extreme flooding. We're here on a hill, so water just must have been rushing down through this area, filling it all up. what's that like then, to know that there were flames nearby engulfing your house and covering it in ash, but now to also know on the way back there's water gushing through everything. You're on the top level of this little apartment complex. That's probably good for you, I suppose.
It's nice.
I mean, what's that like to know that there's fire and water just devastating your home? That's different.
I'll tell you, I've learned the meaning of the phrase, if it's not the fire, it's the flood, because that's exactly what we've been experiencing. And since the fires burned so much of this area, the sediment in the ground is not as compact as it was. There's not as much holding it together during the rain, so all of this flood is just able to just rip through here now. And so it's been, my wife and I came home, we cleaned our house for 3 days. We spent 2 nights in our house, and then the flooding happened, and we kind of lost phone service for a minute. Didn't feel safe, so we went and left and went to stay with my dad. It's where we are now. So even after all of this, we've only spent 2 nights in our home.
Wow. So are you going to stay in your home tonight, or is it?
I believe so, yeah. We've had some water issues, not the flood, but like water pipe issues that have been solved, and so we're...
Sure. So that's... And I'm curious, are those just separate because of the house, or have there been just other problems because of a natural disaster that have affected your plumbing and things like that?
I actually haven't been told if it was the disaster or if it was...
That might be something...
I'm like, I'd like to know that, but
right, a landlord might be hesitant to tell you about some of those things, I suppose, right? That's interesting. I can't imagine even what that's like, to have all the external problems of your house survived, but it's kind of now you still have to just repair the things that have gone wrong with it. So part of our piece today, the title of it is "How do you survive natural disaster?"
Sure.
And I'm kind of curious on your experience. You were thankful that you got to keep all your belongings in your home. What are those pieces of advice that you would actually give to other people who live in foresty areas, who are considering moving to small communities out here? What are those things like? What do you have to actually be aware of and prepared for?
I would say just to have the important things figured out, have them accessible, so that if you do need to leave, you know what you can grab. I would say don't stay too attached to a lot of things. Another thing that I would say is when they tell you to go, go. A lot of people stay in some evacuated areas, and I understand because they're worried about their property and they want to help. But fire is such a life-threatening thing. Nothing is worth your life, and so. Living here is great, and I think people still should, but during fire season, just be prepared that sometimes things can happen. But it's the same in the desert with tornadoes. It's the same on the coast with hurricanes. It's just don't be too attached, but not in a bad way.
I know that's kind of a dark message, but I mean, I also can really appreciate the feeling of. You lose the materialism pretty quick when in a very quick instance you're told to get ready to lose everything. That's pretty hard to hear. So I'm glad that you were able to keep your belongings, and I have to say that knowing that this is the edge of where the fire stopped right before your home, that's terrifying. That's definitely humbling, I'm sure. So thank you for taking the time to talk with me, Jacob. I appreciate it.
I always have a lot of hesitation trying to understand the role of groups like FEMA. I don't know how you particularly reorganize what you have available and designate who is the most important person for those resources. It's not something that I think is an easy job, and I think people who often are in that business get a lot of crap because they're not able to help people as much as people want. But when you go to people and you find those who are willing to put themselves at risk and are willing to step up and take a lot of dirty work in order to ensure that people have the resources they need, you start to have a lot of respect for them. For me, I gained a lot of respect from those we spoke to because every single person seemed to acknowledge what the community needed, and most of all, they were proud of how they have handled themselves in this moment of insecurity.
So you want to know what's left of your home after it burns down. Let's take a look at what we have around here. Starting up on this side, we can see this entire chimney stack that maybe came from the heater or the main chimney in the house, completely is peeled over off of the concrete wall behind it. You have the radiator that's sitting there in the middle, but the kind of concrete and mud bring together, make that weird mush that's sitting on top of it. Very strange. And right through this charcoal wood here, you actually see the same material here on the ground. You can tell where it's a little harder still in this area, but it just turns into this extremely slippery stuff. But this is all underneath your house. You can tell that through here, the garage area, all this metal's been kind of come down these shelves. You can see that there were chairs and little fire pits in here because I think they're, oh, those are pots actually. Hold on, let me see some of this. Look at all this. Sifter here. Someone used to have this sifter. There are pots and pans still holding water from all the floods. I mean, look at this. This is a mess. I don't know how you go about from trying to recover from all this. What's still pretty beautiful is you can actually see the paint on some of this. The paint on this bowl has still endured. In fact, it looks like the art on the inside is still somewhat visible, even though it's covered in nails and rubble and looks like other pieces of pottery from around the house. Look at this piece here from... This looks exactly like all New Mexico pottery I've ever seen, but this used to belong to someone. It was theirs. It was in their home. I hope they're okay that I'm here looking at it. I think it's important people understand the devastation that comes from your belongings, everything you've owned.
So it will reduce the threat of forest fire as well as creating jobs in these communities.
We're all to do that in California, by the way.
Yes, sir.
California's a mess. We're giving billions and billions of dollars for forest fires in California. There's no reason for those fires to be like they are. They're leaving them dirty. It's a disgraceful thing. Old trees are sitting there rotting and dry. And instead of cleaning it up, they don't touch them. They leave them. And we end up with these massive fires that we're paying hundreds of billions of dollars for to.
And President Trump is ordering FEMA to not send any more money to California to fight forest fires. Trump tweeted he told FEMA to stop funding wildlife recovery in the state until, quote, they get their act together. He is blaming improper forest management for last year's deadly fires. Governor Gavin Newsom tweeted in response to the order saying, disasters and recovery are no time for politics. I'm already taking action to modernize and manage our forests and emergency responses. The people of California.
So I'm standing here with now Carrie. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me.
Sure.
Could you please let our folks in Albuquerque know what your role here is at the command center and what you've been up to as all of this devastation's been hitting Ruidoso?
Sure. I'm the Village of Ruidoso Public Information Officer. So my office is responsible for making sure information gets out to the public about the fires and now the flooding and recovery.
So I'm curious what that's like. You start to understand that there's fires coming up from different reasons, lightning, cigarettes, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
How do you start to deliver that information, and how do you choose how to keep people up to date and as these things develop?
We have multiple channels that we keep the public updated with. We've got our website, and when something like this happens, we develop a fire hub, and so all of the information goes there. And then we've got social media channels, Facebook page, X account, Instagram, and for us, we've got that both on the municipal side and on the tourism side.
One of the things I've been really curious about is how your community has been able to formulate the resources needed to fight multiple areas of devastation. You have 3 different fires that have started all around the mountain, as I understand it, as well as the floods that have come in afterwards. How do you designate resources? How do you even begin to figure out who needs what help where? Where do we send people? Where do we have people on standby? What's that process like?
Well, in initial response, it's all of our local people. So it's the Ruidoso Fire Department, Ruidoso Downs, Bonita Volunteer, anybody that's within this area, they're on the initial attack. And then immediately, and it's amazing to see how quickly it happens, we get resources from the state, we get resources from the Forest Service, we get resources from the federal government, and in the form of FEMA and their swiftwater rescue teams and all of that. So it's amazing how coordinated it is to come together quickly. But initial, like the first 24 to 36 hours, it's local people that are on the ground.
Now, I understand that as the fire has moved through, it's not always easy to predict, and that your people had to rescue quite a few. I'm curious what that process is like. When you hear that there are people in trouble, what is that response like, and what would it look like?
Well, you have it all planned out ahead of time, of course. You know, you do a lot of what ifs, and this is how we would move into action if this happened. And so that's why, like today, we still have swiftwater rescue teams here with us, because this flooding is going to continue for a while. And so that we're seeing, you know, each time that big flooding happens, we're having 20 to 30 swiftwater rescues. So you just make sure you keep those resources in place, and then that helps, you know, the end game.
And I understand, you know, you prepare as much as possible. It was tragic that 2 Ruidoso residents lost their lives in these fires. I'm curious on, are there things that you're always looking for to improve? Where are some of the systems that you think maybe the rest of the state could improve their systems on communicating with you guys? I understand it's always hard to work with so many different people, so many hats. I'm wondering if residents in Albuquerque might want to be aware. Are there areas that we could be better for you guys?
I mean, I think I don't have any complaints about communication with the other agencies and, you know, at the state level and stuff like that, because everybody has been so incredibly responsive. And I just think that whenever, no matter what community you're in, no matter what size, whenever something like this is happening, you just need to keep your residents informed. And as long as they feel like they know what's going on, you know, there's a lot of synergy there. And you know, most people understand that when you're in the moment of response and everything, that, you know, you don't have long lead times to, you know, plan out, we're going to put this communication out here and this here, and you're pushing information out constantly. And I think that's what people want and what they look for. And on your question about, you know, ways to improve, there's always ways to improve everything. So hopefully we learn a little bit about this each time we go through it, unfortunately.
Well, I understand it's a learning process. We were able to speak to one of the residents here, and he told us that he's had to evacuate a few times in his life, but he always feels like he's understanding of what's coming ahead. He feels like he has good, proper warning before he's ever in any danger, that he's never put in that place. I'm curious, you know, I understand with hurricanes it can be often the same issue, where you have residents who might decide to stay behind and want to protect their property. There's that urge.
Right.
What would you say to residents sometimes who might feel that way in the midst of a forest fire?
You know, I mean, we understand. It's hard when someone's telling you to leave your home and everything in it. That's a difficult situation for anybody to be in. And so I get it, and I understand why, you know, some people just choose not to. And the only thing that, you know, from a village standpoint that we can say to people is, you know, preserving the life of our residents is our number one priority. And so we don't issue evacuations lightly. We don't, you know, there's a lot of thought, there's a lot of planning, and there's a lot of reasons why we would get to that point of evacuating. I grew up here, and so out of my life, I've spent more than half of it here and half of it in California, where they also had forest fires. And never in that time have I ever been a part of an entire town being evacuated. And I grew up here. And so I don't know if that's the first time ever that Ruidoso has had to do it. But, you know, we had fires burning on both sides of us and one way out. And so when it gets to that point, yeah, you got to think, like, do we pull the trigger on this? And the overwhelming answer was yes, we got to get people out. And if people choose to stay behind, that's their personal choice, and they have to take personal responsibility for that.
Well, from the sirens that you guys let off in the town to let people know, it sounds like you guys did a really good job on making sure the residents were well aware of what the situation was and what the danger was. I'm curious on that chaos that then ensues afterwards. That has to be pretty scary to have a bunch of residents immediately deciding to get out, not sure where to go. You know, even just afterwards, whether you're in Socorro, Albuquerque, Santa Fe, where to stay for a while.
Right.
I'm curious on communicating to the public on that. What are the issues some of your residents face, and how are those systems always looking to be improved?
Well, I mean, a lot of people from here to Roswell, you can't imagine the number of cars that were on the side of the road. People didn't have gas. They didn't have enough gas to make it to Roswell. And Allsups in Hondo ran out of gas. And so there were like 500-600 cars in their parking lot, looking for gas. And so, things like that I know personally, not from this position, but personally, I think like always make sure you've got a half tank of gas, that can get you out of here if you need to. And so, we've already been talking internally about ways to improve on a mass evacuation. How do we make that go smoother? How do we make the traffic not so, and how often is it going to be that you literally have one way out?
And it's a terrifying position to be in. You can try to prepare, but
Right.
I don't know if you can,
Yeah.
right? Those are stress situations that
And
really.
it just happens, and then you look back on it and figure out how to make improvements.
And are you proud of the way that your community responded in those moments? Do you think that you
absolutely.
guys did a good job?
I mean, our residents have been amazing through this. The people all around the region, all around the state, the kindness that our community has been shown. And then, a special shout out to the village employees who many of them worked in that initial response. Many of them worked 38, 48 hours with no sleep, no rest, and just trying to, keep everything going. And so, I think that the employees of the village of Ruidoso have, they've been a whole set of including the fire department and the police department. They're their own set of heroes,
Absolutely.
for doing what they did.
They've been pulling a lot of hours. We were in town right in the weeks leading up, and your people were fighting a lot of fires. And I saw them going through the stores.
Right.
They were tired. I could tell they were battered. I'm curious about for the Mosquilero Apache tribe that you guys are neighbors with. What has their position kind of been like? What is your interaction with their group been like? Have they had some of the same struggles? Have they had different struggles?
Yes, and they had the same thing. They had two fires burning at the same time, and we've always had a synergistic relationship with the tribe, and so they had resources brought in, we had resources brought in, sharing resources. So I think we have a very good working relationship with them.
That's really good to hear. The title of our piece today is "How Do You Survive Natural Disaster?" And I'd like to know where your kind of thoughts are as someone who's now been at the top of this, who's helped in your own life personally as well, now on this administrative level, helping residents stay safe in these kind of dangerous situations. Floods, fires. You're telling me that there was I forget the word for it, but it's like almost a tornado. It's like a
land spout.
A land spout. So it's just an unbelievable amount of natural disaster your residents endured. What's kind of your look back, your perspective on the best things that communities can improve on and ensure that they have ready for these moments?
I think that communities, they obviously most of them are going to have lots of plans that are in place for this. Personally, for individuals, I can't emphasize enough, have a go bag ready that has your important stuff. If a forest fire breaks out, I'm not saying you have to have it by your door all the time, but if a fire breaks out around here, get your go bag, get your documents in it, because I personally was evacuated during the wildfire and took almost nothing because we had 2 kids and 2 dogs. And so when that moment comes and you're like, everybody get out, you have to evacuate, you get in the car, what's most important, and we walked out without anything. And so now we have go bags in the back of our cars, and we have all of our documents right where we can get them in one fell swoop. And then the second part of that is, even though it's hard, heed evacuation warnings, and they're not getting to that point easily. And if they give an evacuation order, they mean it. And by they, I say whatever municipality is doing it. Yeah. And a lot of times, if you stay behind, you create other issues for the people who are there trying to, either fight the fire or deal with the floodwaters. If they're going on a swiftwater rescue and someone yells at them from a house, "I'm stuck," they're going to have to go 2 places at the same time. And so it's a drain on resources. So I can't emphasize that enough. Be prepared, and then heed evacuation warnings.
Well, from what it sounds like, your residents are pretty prepared for these situations, and they themselves are understanding what you're saying here, heed evacuation warnings and prepare.
Yeah.
So thank you for taking the time.
Of course.
I'm so sorry to hear what your community has gone through recently. I mean, it's been absolutely devastating to see the damage here. But you guys seem strong, like you're ready to recover, and that's been pretty moving to see your spirit after such devastation.
Yeah. Ruidoso is resilient. We always have been. The community is amazing at how we come together during times like this, because unfortunately we live in a wildland urban interface, and so this is going to happen, and we always hope it doesn't happen to this degree, but when it does, we're going to get through this. It's going to be years of rebuilding, but we've got wonderful people, great businesses, and we'll come through it.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time to speak
Of course.
with me. I really appreciate it.
Hello, my name's Landon Stallings, Water Group Supervisor, Texas A&M Task Force 1 out of College Station, Texas.
And I'm curious, how long have you been firefighting?
I'm actually a retired firefighter. I served 35 years in Fort Worth Fire Department.
Retired. I do have to challenge you out here. You are out here helping us in our community fighting fires.
Right. Retired from the first career, but I'm still active in urban search and rescue.
Well, I have to ask, what has your experience been like out here in Ruidoso dealing with our fires and floods?
So the team responded 26 members out of Texas last week on the 30th. There was heavy flooding on that date, and then we had heavy flooding on the 10th, and the 9th and 10th in Ruidoso. And we came in, integrated with the local response, Ruidoso Fire, Lincoln County Fire, and it's been a seamless incident with regards to being able to understand where we can help. It's been a pleasure to be here. Of course, our hearts go out to the citizens and the property owners and all the visitors who had their vacations disrupted from the event. But we're glad to do what we do. We hate to see it. We hate to be called, but when we get here, we're glad to do what we do.
Well, I have to ask, is there ever a moment in which you're not able to pick some fights in which you're like having to figure out, do I want to move these people, evacuate out of here? Do I need to protect these areas more? What is that process like of deciding how you manage a fire?
Sure. Well, so behind the response is a lot of training and that risk management perspective about trying to do the most good for the most people and ensure that when you're trying to rescue or remove somebody, you don't further endanger them in the meantime, crossing a river or something. That's a lot of what the training and experience that the team brings to the table. And so I can tell you, in the numerous rescues done over the last few days, there's been a lot of those decisions made by the crews. This water is unique that it comes from these burn scars and it rises very quickly and then it's over in a pretty short duration. And so there has been some times when we could simply wait until the water came down, and other times where it was rising and it was a deteriorating situation, and it was a go for the teams. They've done a phenomenal job. We've had no incidents or injuries with all of the activity we've had out here the last 2 weeks.
Can you tell me about some of the rescues you've had to operate while you're out here?
Sure. Most of them have been in the Ruidoso proper, where the water pushes through and is constrained in Ruidoso, right there in town. There's a great deal of homes that are close to the water, and as the water rose, it actually got into some of those homes, and so people asked for assistance.
And I have to imagine that is hard to come out as a team. You're prepared to deal with fires and smoke and those kind of damaged areas that are dangerous in that regard. But on the other hand, you have pathways that are completely disrupted by water. I mean, what's it like navigating out here? You're coming from Texas. This is a kind of a different area for you.
It is, and certainly the mountain environment is different than Texas, but we have a great deal of flash flooding in Texas and a lot of response, a lot of response experience. As a matter of fact, we had a hurricane come through, make landfall near Houston and come through just a few days ago, and other members of the team responded to that, and they had a great deal of floodwater rescues in Houston. How it's different though here is the water has a lot more debris coming out of the burn field, and it's a lot faster because of the slope of the land. So the water truly is swift water, and where we would use our boats a lot at home to do rescues, they really weren't the right tool here. And so it's wading operations, rope-assisted rescues, and then also we had a National Guard helicopter up at Sierra Grande Airport that's been an amazing resource when it was just not right to use something else.
You're able to get into areas that are remote,
Absolutely.
hard, that are dangerous to get to any other way, and get people safe.
Absolutely. So our response partners ended up being the National Guard through their high-profile vehicles, their LMTVs that can fjord water of considerable height, and we could use those to load victims and get them to dry land. And then also the UH-60 helicopter. It had a hoist where you can lower a rescuer down off of the helicopter and lift back up. And they were here as well. They've been great partners. Every day we coordinated and integrated with those groups. And not to mention, I guess I failed to mention that Tennessee and Arkansas also sent state water assets that came and assisted. And we also have Sandoval County from northwest New Mexico in here. So we had 6 squads in here working.
From all those places.
From all those places. They gelled together into a team and have just done amazing work every day. I'm super proud of them.
I mean, I have to say that the community that I've had a chance to speak to, they've been incredibly thankful for you guys. They have said that everything's been done professionally, that at no point have they actually felt unsafe in the evacuation processes. What I am curious about is if, when you do have to get in a situation where someone's in danger, do you find that it's often because someone put themselves in that kind of position, or is it just in the terrifying thing that is a natural disaster, people get overwhelmed quickly and they don't have time to escape?
Right. Well, you got to remember that the perspective is that most people feel safe in their homes. And a lot of this is they're in their homes and the water slowly rises, and then it reaches the point where they feel unsafe and they call. So we don't make any judgments about those that seek out aid. The other thing is motorists that may not be oriented to the area at all. They're simply passing through or coming in on vacation.
Trying to get out of the area.
We're glad to do the work. Just like you said, the vast majority of people are very gracious for our efforts, and it's a real pleasure for us to come in and provide service, along with the local effort that really just gets overwhelmed by a disaster like this, where you have so many more incidents than the local rescuers can handle on their own.
Well, you know, the title of our piece today is How Do You Survive Natural Disaster? And you actually, before we started rolling, gave me a really good definition of natural disaster that I'd love if you'd be able to share with me.
Sure.
I think it's really interesting.
Really, and it is a simple definition, but in the rescue community, a disaster is defined by an incident that outstrips the local response capability. And so that means it scales to the community, whether it's a large community where they may be able to handle an event that maybe a smaller community with a few fire stations cannot. So in that way, no matter where you go, if you look at a disaster from that perspective, it makes sense. Whether it's urban or rural, we're just coming in to help. And one of our main caveats is we come in and we integrate with the local effort. We go to the EOC or the fire station and we get direction from the local officials on where they would like help.
And you do this often, going to other locations that are in just need of help and rescue operations.
We do. There's an interesting stat about Texas A&M Task Force 1. We're actually the most deployed urban search and rescue team in the country.
No kidding.
It is surprising. I mean, there's 28 teams, East Coast, West Coast, big cities, but Texas, just due to our weather, we get the cool air out of the mountains, and we get that humid, moist air from the Gulf, and it creates a lot of thunderstorms and events there in Texas. Wow. We go a lot on hurricanes nationwide. We have a lot of state events, and we're always glad to come over and help our state partners. We've had a pleasure working with the New Mexico teams. In fact, it may be next time that they come and help us. And so it's a really tight-knit community, the water rescue community is. They worked awesome this week, and we all learned from each other. So the craft came up another level due to the incident and the work we did.
Well, I mean, you've been out here for a long time, just in our community, helping us, rescuing us. I understand that if your community was in trouble, I hope our people come out there to help you as well.
Absolutely, and we would welcome them with open arms, and again, integrate into what we were already doing, It's seamless. That is the culture of the fire service and the culture of urban search and rescue. That's how we work. We never come in and never heavy-handed. We come in to assist, not take over.
Well, I have to say that I've been really impressed by the way that you and all the teams here that have come in from around our region have been able to perform, help people, keep people safe, and everyone. You guys have, I believe, now pretty much put out most of the fire. It's at over 90% contained. There's just a few spots going, and that's going to get put out in the next few days. So you must be having a big sigh of relief now, knowing it's all kind of coming to an end.
I am, but I want to be clear that the firefighting was another effort, and hats off to them. They did a tremendous job. You're absolutely right. As far as the statistics, we can get them from the EOC, but I believe you're right. There's 3 areas that had burned. One of them was in May, and then 2 in here in June that created these burn scars. And then the rain that fell after that is what created the water rescue response. But prior to that, you're right, there was a lot of great work done by the firefighters to stop the fire and stop the losses in the community.
Well, I know this community is extremely grateful for you guys coming out to assist during these floods that have been absolutely devastating. They've just been grateful for the help overall. I mean, it's a small community and they need all the help they can get, and we're thankful that you came out here for us. So thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it.
Sure, thank you. Have a great day.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Throughout all the chaos, one group stood out to us, River Crossing Ministries, as the community comes together to make sure everyone has what they need, from food, clothing, to all the kind of toiletries and necessities you didn't think about after a fire and you lose everything. River Crossing Ministries was making sure everyone was fed. But if that wasn't enough, they themselves were impacted by this disaster, and they still stood by their community to help them.
So I'm standing here now with Tim Gilliland. You've been here a minister at the River Crossing Ministries here since 2017.
Right.
And you've been working with this organization here behind us, Samaritan's Purse.
Right.
And you guys are doing food. I understand that every Thursday for a while, you guys have been helping the community make sure there's food. But
Right.
recently, ever since you guys have been allowed back in town from the evacuations,
Right.
you guys have been doing this every single day
Right.
for about 3 weeks now.
Yeah, Monday through Friday, and we also free meal and coffee for whoever needs it, no questions asked. And we also opened up a free store right over here, which is basically like a little mini Walmart. We get donations and we just give that away to people. Toiletries, groceries, personal items, things that they need to get through this hard time.
So you have people coming by who have recently lost everything, I assume.
Right, yeah.
So they're
Hundreds.
able to get meals here. They're able to
Yes.
get some extra things like socks and
Yes,
toilet
absolutely.
paper.
Right.
It's really hard to come by, especially
Right.
when you're in these situations. What's that been like to see your community struggle after trying to recover from such devastation?
It's been amazing and difficult. So we lost our home also through this fire.
So sorry.
One of many. Our whole hillside of homes was destroyed north of town here. And so we're kind of on the other side of this equation. The Samaritan's Purse, it's a national relief organization. They came for the last fire and the fire before that. This is the 3rd fire they've come. They were here for the Little Bear fire, the McBride fire, and now for these 2 fires, the Salt fire and the South Fork fire. And
Wow.
so we're used to how they do things. They go out and sift through the ashes of people's homes with volunteers from all over the country and local volunteers. They do debris removal, and because of the floods that now are happening, they're also doing flood cleanup in various places.
I can't imagine the amount of labor that goes into that,
Right.
the amount of heartache for
Right.
all the people who are affected. I'm just so sorry to hear about your own home. Tell me, how did you learn about that? What was the process like of being evacuated and then learning
Right.
that your belongings were gone? That has to be terrifying.
Right. Yeah, that Monday morning, it was kind of an ominous feeling. We knew there was a fire started. A friend and I went up to the Ranger Tower and kind of watched it in Upper Canyon as it was just a small fire. It looked like it was going to come right into town. Shifted and went north, and that's when it got our house. But we just watched it that morning. We were trying to be basically normal, business as usual, hoping it would be a small fire. And then by that afternoon, it was obviously much more than that. So we left actually before the evacuation. We were north of town. It was coming in on us.
So you had your things
see the flames.
packed up already?
Well, Not really. We had a few things set out. You know, we've had a lot of close calls before, so we had some things ready, but it got to the end. We just put things in there. I went and picked up my mom, got her some things from her house, and then we just took off. And then as we were headed out, the roads were filling with people, and then the announcement was made, you know, an evacuation. And so then it got really crazy to get out of town. And so
what's that like? Thousands of people trying to leave this village at once.
Incredible. From what I've heard, you know, like I said, we took a back road to get around, so we kind of got a little bit ahead of the main evacuees. But these roads were just full.
Yeah.
And I just really want to compliment the city officials and workers, because they were ready for this, and so they got everybody out that would leave.
Yeah, no.
And then the rest is history.
Well, I'm very curious on what your mentality is like, where you're in a really desperate situation. You've lost your home, but you're out here helping people get fed. In fact, as soon as our crew got here, you offered to feed us too, and the pozole you gave us was amazing. So thank you for that. But I mean, I can't fathom that. I mean, you're in a situation where you've lost more than I could fathom losing. I can't imagine being in your shoes right now. But you're taking the time here, not just to talk with us, but to help people, feed people, get them clothes, toiletries. How does that come to be that you can be in such a situation, but you find the time to help?
Well, one thing that I've learned through the years is that, and I would say this to anybody, if you've gone through a loss, difficulty, go help somebody else, and it becomes part of your own healing. And I don't know the mechanism of all that, but I know that's what's worked for us. We came back to town as soon as we could and started just helping, and that helps you kind of get through your own difficulty, and a whole lot of prayer and trusting God through the whole process. But you know, we've seen a lot of great things happen through this ministry here, and so we're just hoping for more, and remain thankful. Try to remain thankful through it all for what wasn't lost.
I can't imagine that. You know, you lose a lot, but I imagine that does reveal quite a bit what you do have nearby. So I'd like to know, what are your next steps in your own life to help kind of re-culture? I mean, I can't imagine that process of thinking about where you're going to be again, and what's it like to. I mean, you want to stay here in this community, obviously.
Yeah, we do.
What's that like to just kind of think about resettling?
We're still in the middle of a crisis because of the floods, and
you're not out of it. No,
we're not, and we've been down below the building. Here is the river, and sandbagging. I was down there this morning shoring up some sandbags around some homes, and one home in particular, and you know, we're still in the middle of a crisis, but we were so blessed to have somebody offer a home for us to stay in temporarily, so we had a place to come back to. And my mom and my sister's home, it was smoke damage. They couldn't move back in, so they had to come with us. And so we're just taking it one day at a time. There's, as with all these things, there's government agencies, there's insurance, there's all kinds of processes and we're just trying to take it one day at a time and see where we are. Just day by day.
Well, what would you say for other people who are going through what you're going through? Because I can't imagine if I was in your shoes, I'd be smiling the way you are.
Right. Well, I've had my days. I've been smiling every day, but I will tell you, stay busy if you can, helping others. Connect with community. Don't isolate. It's easy to isolate in times like this, but stay connected. Make special effort to connect. As a minister, I would say reconnect with God. You know, you need something more firm to stand on than what maybe even a house or whatever, because houses come and go, obviously.
What role has prayer been for you in this process?
Yeah, it's been huge. And you know, you say a lot of things about it, but when you come down and you've pretty much lost everything, then you begin to see what really is important. And so prayer has been a major part of it. So to encourage people to, you know, pray, to seek counseling, and again, to reconnect with other people, reconnect or connect with God, maybe for the first time. And I found in Christ that connection, and I pray that for other people. So.
And you've been able to help other people while you're here doing that.
It's been great.
That's pretty beautiful. And,
well, it's great. And we just love Samaritan's Purse. They again, all over the world doing this, or mainly in the United States. You know, they have an amazing team and groups of volunteers, and so that's been a great support to us, you know, personally, just to have them here. I mean, we're the host. And they're out doing things, but they've been a great encouragement to me personally. So
that's good to hear. I mean, our piece today is titled "How Do You Survive Natural Disaster?"
Wow.
And I'd like to know, in your own experience, what has been the tools that have helped you most through this natural disaster?
Yeah. Well, and again, I'll say the connection with family. I've got a wonderful wife who's been a huge encouragement to me. We've just gotten closer, and extended family and all the rest. I would say, again, the faith piece, obviously, draw near to God, He'll draw near to you. That sort of thing, obviously, is the key. Be real alert to the help that's offered. I would say, there's a lot of help out there. And we're blessed to live in a nation that still has help. And we've had Red Cross people here helping. I talked to FEMA this morning, and there's all kinds of agencies here. And so don't be afraid to ask for help, and come get, if it says free and you need it, come get it. Everybody's invited here, and I know there are other places doing similar things.
And even after this crisis on Thursdays, you guys will still
absolutely
be available for
Thursday.
people to
And our
come
goal is to eventually keep doing this all the time. It's
for more often.
It's things are different with volunteers, but we have staff too, so that helps. So.
Well, thank you so much for the food today as well. and helping us just genuinely.
Welcome.
But
you're very welcome.
Being able to help us understand what you're going through, and I'm so sorry to hear about your loss. That's really hard.
Thank you. It means a lot.
But your community is very resilient. So
thank you.
It's been an inspiration to me as well.
Thank you. Well, pray for us. We've got a long ways to go with this community.
Absolutely.
A lot of recovery.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.